Thank you, Alfonso Mateo, for making this possible. Hello, yet again, to AHA, a human among humans. It's going to get a little easier to be among humans. Masks are not required after Friday. I hope that turns well for us. Denmark tried that and COVID went up. We don't want that to happen here, do we? Or anywhere. Welcome. My name is Michael Koran. And the poem, very brief one, I call them a high clue. They have 17 syllables, and they try to rhyme. How blessed am I to have witnessed this. While holding her hand, Dad asked Mom, why did we waste 40 years fighting? I'm still touched. Hope you are too. Hearing and seeing this. I was there in East Brunswick, New Jersey. It was in the kitchen. Dad was holding Mom's hand and can still feel it. He says this to her. It almost would be worth for me making a statue of it. Seeing Dad wasn't so good at holding hands. Mom had said for years, hold my hand, and when he finally did, when we were walking to see Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, the play together, my brother Len and I believe, and certainly Mom and Dad, she said, as she usually does when things like that happen, Charlie, why are you holding my hand so tentatively? Ouch. She, my beloved mother Evelyn Korn, oh, it was so hard for her. And it's in me too. We take the challenges of our parents, and they're in our bones and blood, marrow, skin, heart, mind. She couldn't just say thank you. If you could hold it a little stronger, I would like that. Mom liked to make people feel as bad as she felt. Wow. Is that hard to get through? So she didn't really want, although she did and didn't, want her hand to be held in a way that brought her satisfaction. But satisfaction, you might know some people like this. I have a close friend. When it gets good, I know this well for myself, it's hard to handle. I'm so used to being unhappy. I went to the University of Chicago, and I think they had a screening process where if you were happy, you couldn't get in. And of course then we could really take our studies seriously. It was like learn or drown. When Plato talks about there is a realm or a state of consciousness where we can feel beauty and truth radiating from the heavens. That is nice to know, but I had to really know it in my marrow in order to make it through the day. One philosopher, Nietzsche, said Plato, Christianity is Plato for the people. Can we feel the true loving beauty? To get by, nothing fancy, just to get by. So I got in thanks to Dad and Mom at the University of Chicago. I mean, grades helped. But I was one unhappy dude, much more unhappy than I would even want to admit. And then, many years later, after driving my mother back to her East Brunswick home, where she met my father, they had secret rendezvous. My father was living with someone else, still married to my mom. And they had a secret rendezvous in their home. It wasn't secret to anyone, of course, but it wasn't spoken. And during that visit, when I drove my mother home to meet her still husband in East Brunswick, Dad takes her hand and actually says, "Why did we waste 40 years fighting?" And they would fight. We have what was I called the tragedy of the open mouth when we ate dinner. Dad would come in after working a long day in the fire department and be hungry. And he'd sit at the table, he'd be rubbing his thighs. Somehow it made him feel a little more comfortable. Of course, Mom would say things like, "Why are you rubbing your thighs, Charlie?" Not getting the affection from her. And then when there's bread on the table, Dad would take a clump of bread and start eating it. It helped fill the emptiness inside, being with my mom and our family. And Mom would come in from the kitchen with the roast, a roast beef she had worked hard to make. And she says, "Charlie, why are you starting to eat before I sit down?" Because this was her big event of the day in many ways. Her claim to fame. Her wanting to be honored for what she was doing for all of us. So it's sad beyond, it's small but sad beyond tears. Let's hear it for women's liberation. And as soon as she said, "Charlie, why are you eating before we begin?" And it would make my father's emptiness inside a little bit deeper. And he'd grab for more bread. And she'd say it again. "Why are you eating before I sit down?" With that voice that seems to have gone to school so it could pierce through bone into marrow. I, a beloved son of my mother, have felt that voice. And my father says, if you don't shut your mouth, I'm going to throw this coffee cup at you, which had coffee in it. And my brave mother, thin line between courage and stupidity, says, ah! And Dad throws the cup with the hot coffee. You'd think that would make my mother retreat. No, she starts going at him, to fight him. In some ways, good for her. And my brother pushes her into the bathroom, closes the door till the trauma passes. Although we had the tragedy of the open mouth so many evenings, it does make it hard to eat. So there seems to be guaranteed fighting. Mom wanting something from Dad, supposedly, but too uncomfortable if she gets it. If he holds her hand and she likes it, oh my, who would she be without complaining all the time? And maybe who would Dad be? Having someone wanting something from him, needing, Charlie, I need some love. I need some love. Some tender caresses and love. And none. So these two wounded souls were married for 40 years. And at the end of that 40th year in the kitchen, I witnessed. And there's a question in the beginning of this haiku, this poem. How blessed am I to have witnessed this? I think it is a blessing, as is maybe many blessings mixed, to have lived through the 40 years. Why? And there was affection in it this time. And Mom didn't criticize him. I don't know if she answered him, but there was some kind of compassion and affection after 40 years of fighting. Hope for all of us. Hope for all of us. We'll switch the scene for a moment, but we can remember that statue. Dad holding Mom's hand. I wish something like this for all of us who are in struggling families. There are moments when the light breaks through. I could still cry thinking of this. It's still there through all their struggles from before and after. So I walk with my dad at another time by the Atlantic Ocean in Brooklyn, very close to where he was born. He was living with another woman at the time. They were really married, if the common law marriage, over 7 years, while still being married to my mother. And while we're walking by the Atlantic Ocean, I tell my father, I who had studied philosophy and religion, Dad, there's an old belief that you choose your parents. could be Hebrew and Hindu. And I would choose you folks all over again. Because with your help and Mom's help, I like my life, my struggles, and who I am. I think at this moment that was both true and, alas, spiritual bypass. I thought I liked my life, but there were many feelings and thoughts buried underneath that. Many screams, so much self-help, hate, and help. But at this moment, I am feeling very glad, and still now at this moment with you in TV, very glad to have been born to them. So I said, tell Dad, I'm very glad I chose you to be my parents. And my honest father says, it shows you what a lousy job I did, Mike. You'd make such a dumb choice like that over again, which was both fun, clever, and sad, of course. His choice to marry Evelyn. It's even more challenging in some myths that all young people watching this, all people watching this, according to, I believe, the philosopher Schopenhauer, and maybe the Hindus, we are spirits hovering around the earth like extraterrestrials, wanting to be born with all its challenges. Sure we do. And we see a man and a woman usually, at least then. Now it could be there's many more options. And the love or attraction they feel for each other comes from the spirits wanting to be born through them. And so I, the firstborn, in 1940, move Evelyn, or early, 39 rather, move Evelyn and Charles to meet each other and to feel love for each other. They met on an ice skating rink. Might have been Rockefeller Center in Manhattan. And Mom tried the old dropping the handkerchief trick, although she didn't have a handkerchief skating, but she fell on the ice, and Charles picked her up, rescuing a damsel in distress. They talked. He had the courage to ask her out and said, "What would you like to do?" She says, "Bike ride." And Dad says, "Fine." And takes a week of bike riding lessons so he could go bike riding with his future wife. And I, who might have been the energy bringing them together, could be born from them. And so, for all of us having struggles with our parents, it's a very different perspective if we entertain the possibility that we brought them together so we could be born. And maybe then we could love our struggles with ourselves and them, that we chose them. What a different way of looking at things, rather than, wow, why am I cursed with such a mother that had so much trouble being happy, so much liked pain and suffering. I'll spare you the stories of when I was born and they force-fed me every 4 hours because I wouldn't eat on schedule. Whoa, think you have eating problems. Help. Well, back to our poem. We still have that first title, or the title. How blessed am I to have witnessed this? I think it is a blessing. Maybe it'll help those two parts of me, Dad and Mom, yin and yang, to be harmonious, maybe finally. When my mother was dying, I told her she will meet Dad in heaven, and he'll say, as he always does, "Good to see you, Evelyn. Keep in touch." That's what happens when I call my dad. "Good to hear from you, Mike. Keep in touch." Not much content, but he actually did enjoy just the call. So, this is a blessing, yes? A difficult one, to have lived through this. And I'm sure all of us are doing this now, young or old. We're living through the struggles, challenges that we chose. We needed them. I'm not going to go into who could I have been that I needed this. But I'm here talking with you and you're here with me. We've stayed the course so far. We're running the good race. We're fighting the good fight. How blessed are you to have witnessed you? Can we feel that? Wow. Can we feel through it all without hiding from the difficult challenges and feelings? Can we feel blessed? Can we feel all we meet are blessed? It's easier with trees, right? Sky, grass, squirrels. Easy to see the blessing being a tree or a squirrel, or the Charles River for that matter. Harder sometimes to feel we're a blessing. But we can do it. Why not? Why not if we can feel that? Even the struggle, the ruthless struggle in our country and the world, not only with COVID, although that's enough, but the oppression, the racism, and slowly, as Martin Luther King promised, the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. And I think the justice now for me, I hope for you, if we can open our heart, feel from our heart love as gifts, not to bypass the pain. No, no, no. The pain can teach us all kinds of things. The anger, the hate, fuel, all fuel to build a better life for ourselves and our world. How blessed am I to have witnessed this while holding Mom's hand. Dad says, why did we waste 40 years of our life fighting? Blessings